Yo, salam, salam. Abdul the Abbot, aka Black Light, new showcase. We're gonna show you what's going on in the world today. And of course, the light of the world is on the Middle East, issues within Gaza, and the ongoing conflict that is still going on. Besides bombs, hits, and things like that, when utilities being cut off, also food has been cut off to the Gazans. All right, here's some of these modern day prophecies that's going on from the world almost, what y'all think about it.
Gaza, quote, in the coming days. That, according to an Israeli security official. The shift comes as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens by the day. Images like this illustrate the growing desperation for hungry Palestinians. The health ministry there says dozens have died from starvation and malnutrition just this week. And those
And those is grown folks going over children, mind you. Look at that.
ceasefire talks are ongoing. There's no end in sight for the people of Gaza. More now from CNN's Jeremy Diamond, and a warning. You may find the images in his report disturbing.
There are no bullet holes or shrapnel wounds marking this man's body. His bears the signs of a far more silent killer: starvation. At 41 years old, Mohammed al-Hassanat is one of at least 45 Palestinians who have died of malnutrition in just the last week, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. An entirely man-made humanitarian crisis in Gaza, now reaching unprecedented levels. The question now is not whether starvation will claim more lives, but who will be its next victim. Most food stocks have run
Damn, little Habibi, man.
dry. Malnutrition cases are skyrocketing, and there is only so much Gaza's under-resourced hospitals can do. At one of the few soup kitchens still serving meals, the growing desperation of Gaza's population of more than 2 million is clear as day. 28 Western nations, more than 100 humanitarian aid organizations, and top UN officials have all said Israeli policies are to blame for the starvation crisis now unfolding. That's because Israel imposed a total
And even when you're starving, it's like another brain that takes over when you're thinking with your stomach. Less compassion and empathy is going on. People probably get stampede, people get probably get injuries from being here. You know, they showing this. I'm glad we have these cameras today and these issues, what's going on. It's like elephant in the room, how wonderful we live in America, you know. But this is what goes on in African countries every day since a blonde lock of hair ever swayed within a tropical cancer of Africa. Okay. This is what colonization does. This is what dehumanization does. This. Imagine living like this perpetual state, what that will do to a people.
siege of Gaza between March and May. And since then, Israeli restrictions on the entry and distribution of aid have snowballed into an utterly avoidable disaster.
I don't know what you would call it other than mass starvation. And it's man-made. And that's very clear. And this is because of blockade.
Israel denies it is using starvation as a weapon.
Honestly, isn't all food man-made starvation? I mean, think about it. We literally have the power to go to the next level of civilization, not just being based off fossil fuels, things like that, things being based off the actual stellar constructs of the universe to be powering things. We actually have the power to go to the next level, but most people are in this stuck with this tribalist, selfish mind state that has us all the little racial jokes, all the little divides and things like all these little things, these microaggressions or the macro ones, all contribute to us not going to the next level of civilization. Some could even say a heaven on earth.
Pointing to hundreds of aid trucks inside Gaza awaiting UN pickup. The UN says Israeli authorities have repeatedly failed to authorize safe routes to pick up those stockpiles. But the reality of starvation is impossible to deny, including for Israeli news channels, which rarely broadcast such images. Fadia Abu Namus has been in line since 6 a.m., hoping to fill a pot of lentil soup to feed the 9 members of her family. We've had enough of starvation and oppression, enough of staying in the streets like dogs, where no one looks at us, where we can't find anything for our children to eat or drink. Signs of hunger are everywhere in Gaza. This man collapsed while sifting through the wreckage of the latest Israeli offensive. He says he hasn't eaten anything lately but scraps of bread. Moments later, his body gives out on him again. He's simply too weak to go on. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Tel Aviv.
Do you have
man, that
$100? Because I'm looking for 2,000 believers who are willing to trade one.
Horrible situation indeed. We're joined now by Jada Doyen McKenna. She's the CEO of Mercy Corps, a global team of humanitarians working on the front lines of the world's biggest crises, including, of course, Gaza. Jada, thank you so much for coming in.
The World Food Program says it has reached 1 million people in Sudan's capital.
This is what's going on in Sudan. I know everyone has their eyes on Palestine. I also find it ironic that we're still not talking about Africa, Sudan, Yemen, places like that, Boko Haram. Of course, in the Congo. So we're going to be trying to spread all information out here on Freedom Boulevard on the block.
Khartoum, after gaining access as parts of the region remain at risk of famine. Sudan's army recaptured Khartoum in March from the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, which had previously blocked aid access to the city. But the situation remains critical, particularly in areas south of Khartoum, according to WFP's country director in Sudan, Laurent Bukera.
I think the area in the south, and I will just name one that's probably resonates, Jebel Aulia, is the one that was the last one held by RSF, and it's the last one that was pushed and where we now have access. The level of hunger and destitution and desperation that was found when the first distributions took place last month were severe and basically confirmed the risk of famine in those areas.
Even with improved access, the UN agency currently faces a $500 million funding shortfall. In April, the WFP said rations in
shit like this, man, is what I definitely, don't agree. It was at the heart, the left and the right. All that shit is just bullshit. You either with Allah or you're not. And some things, even if you don't have that concept, you have the fitra to be with a positive aligning, with a benevolent, malevolent, It's just sad. One focus on people should not just be put over another, as well in retrospect, an obscuring of a whole continent. Still, so here on Freedom Boulevard, we're going to be talking about the dark Arabs, who are the Yemeni, and the Sudani dark Arabs, also the Dinka Sudani, and the issues with, the non-Muslim Africans also.
areas at risk of famine have been reduced to 70% of a standard ration. The conflict, which erupted in April 2023, has displaced millions and divided the country into rival zones. The World Food Program says it has reached.
They just had a war situation out there.
An alarming warning, and it's not new. This is the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Almost 25 million people are facing acute hunger in Sudan, according to the World Food Program, And that's roughly the same as the entire population of Sri Lanka. It's the largest hunger crisis in recent history.
Wow. I don't know how many people are in Gaza, but I'm pretty sure it's not the population of Sri Lanka. And that's just in Sudan. All these affected Black peoples. So I don't like the delineation, whatever that means, from our Black peoples in Africa. You know, I don't like that part. I mean, come on, look at this. Now, if we're gonna get some money and we can do business with them, fine. Let's do that. Let's say that. Let's get our money. You feel me? But let's not forget, we are not friends, you know, with this establishment that's put down. It's definitely not an advancement for our Black peoples.
Fueled by conflict, this is man-made.
This is man-made. Which man has made this? Man can be a Satan. Now, what Satan is capable of on a mass alarming level to cause this type of things? Is it the peoples of the Nile Valley humans, or is it peoples of the Siberian tundra? Okay.
We had to flee because of the fighting and ended up here in Tawila. We have nothing to eat. It's so hard on us. We need many things: shelter from the rain, protection from mosquitoes, food, and water. My child here is suffering from malnutrition.
Famine has been declared in various regions of the country, and the United Nations is warning that it's spreading. The fighting is now into its third year, a conflict and human suffering the world has become accustomed to. And despite warnings that it's getting worse by the day, warnings it seems the world has also become used to. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera.
Little red, brown African babies. Yeah.
Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, so I want to bring light to that. Why is always Palestine, with some of these pale Arabs? And I'm not going to double back and say, well, you know, everybody goes to it. Nah, that's what's done. The African is always overlooked. This shit is going on in Africa, you know, 100%, and even worse, what's going on. All right. Thank y'all for listening. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Salam.